everybody, this is Bogus Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the McFarlane Toys Spawn Overtkill Megafig. So, the only accessory that Overkill comes with is this Spawn base, and he's made out of kind of a hollow plastic, so you really don't need this base. He stands pretty well on his own. So taking a look at this head sculpt, I really love this head sculpt. I think McFarlane Toys did an awesome job on this. The bright red for the mechanical eye looks really good, all of the mechanical bits. He has a nice brown wash over top of his skin, giving it that rotted look. As you can see, his mouth is starting to shrivel up, and you can see his gums and rotten teeth exposed. That looks really good. McFarlane Toys used some printing tech to give that some variation in paint, and that looks really good. I think in some of the recent comics, his right eye is all white. I can't remember if it was blue before or not. My main complaint with this head sculpt, though, is that Overkill has a nose, and in the recent comics, his nose has fallen off, so there's nothing there. So I do wish that McFarlane Toys would have done that with this head sculpt, because, you know, he's rotting. He's pretty much a zombie, as you can see from the shriveled lips there where his gums are rotting. But he still has his nose, so that is my main complaint with this head sculpt. Overkill has a bunch of really good sculpt detail. All of the veins and the tubes there by his neck are done in silver. He has some texturing to his skin, and it has some brown paint over top of it. I do wish there would have been more brown paint over top of this. I feel like it could use a little more of a wash. But there you can see the tubes and everything on his chest. It's sculpted really nicely. These are separate pieces, though. That is very noticeable that these are separate pieces. It would have been nice if this was just all sculpted onto his chest instead of a separate piece that's glued in. His left shoulder pad is actually on a ball joint here. Since the ball joint connects right here, the articulation is hindered a little bit. But having this on a ball joint does help with his articulation, especially when you're moving the arm up like that. And this actually has some pretty nice paint detail on it. It's really hard to tell, and it's kind of hard to tell even in person, but all of the green parts have a silver wash over top of them. I do think it would benefit from a black wash. That would bring out the details really nicely, but it actually does have silver paint over top of it. It is just really, really hard to see. All of the mechanical parts on him are sculpted really nicely, and the mechanical parts actually have a black wash over them, and that brings the details out very nicely. So this actually does have a lot more paint detail than I thought it did. Now that I have it in hand, I'm definitely seeing all of the different paint variation. That black wash looks very, very nice. And as I said, this does have a silver wash over top of it, but it's really hard to tell. You can see some more of that dried, rotting skin texture on his back, and it looks really good. As I said, having this in hand, you definitely notice a lot more sculpt and paint detail. I do think it could use a little more paint still, but it's definitely more than I originally thought it had. The left thigh on mine looks like it has more of a black wash than the right, but they both have that black wash. My only complaint is that this joint up in here, it does not swivel properly. So it should swivel, but it doesn't. Boiling the figure will probably free that up, but he is a really large figure, so I haven't figured out how I'm going to put him in some boiling water and loosen that joint up right there. He has some really nice sculpt detail to the shin armor here. As I said, it has that silver wash on it, and I'm trying to pick it up on the camera. I think it's very faintly picking that up, especially right here. But yeah, I'm definitely going to go over this, especially the green parts here, with a black wash. I think that'll improve the sculpt a lot. I really thought he would have some toe articulation, but it's one solid piece. I feel like McFarlane Toys could have hidden a joint right there really, really well. So now let's go ahead and go over his articulation. He has a ball jointed head that can look up just a little bit. He can look down very slightly. He can move his head side to side. He has ball-jointed shoulders. The right side moves all the way out. The left side moves out this far before it hits on that piece. As I said, the shoulder pad is on a ball joint, so it does help the articulation a little bit, but it still does stop right there. But I do appreciate that McFarlane Toys did this. I'm glad it's not just a rubber piece that's glued on. It's actually articulated so you can move it when you're posing the figure around. He has single jointed elbows that can only bend in that far. He has swivel wrists that can move down very slightly, back very slightly, and side to side. He has a ball jointed waist that can move back all the way. He can crunch forward just a little bit. He can move side to side and spin all the way around. He has hips that can do a complete split. I was really surprised about his hip articulation. As I said, there's no swivel here because those joints seem to be stuck. He can kick forward all the way. He can kick back all the way. He has single jointed knees that can only bend in that far, but they do move side to side down here. And he has swivel at the ankle that can move down very slightly, up just a little bit, and an ankle rocker. So now, let's do some size comparisons. So first up, here he is next to the very first version of himself. I think this was from Spawn Series 1. This one had a really cool action feature where his head flies off when you press a button on his back. Here he is next to the Deluxe Box Overkill figure. This was from the early 2000s Spawn's Waves. And I still really love this version. I like the new one as well, because this new one is from the Spawn Universe comics, and of course, this one on the right is from the classic Spawn comics. Here he is next to Cygor. And finally, here he is next to Spawn. So overall, I would highly recommend picking this Overkill up, especially if you don't have the previous one, that Deluxe Box figure, because this one is really awesome. The paint is a little bit lacking, I will admit that, but a black wash should improve this a lot. Like I said, I do like that I have a version for the classic one and now a modern one. And there is actually some paint detail on him, like the black wash on all of the silver parts and a silver wash on the green parts. It's just they used a very, very light silver color on all the green parts, so it really doesn't show up that well. But other than that, I would highly recommend this figure because he is really awesome. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.